Busy day. John Boehner, no unconditional surrender. And, of course, from the president, we had more of the same. He's willing to talk about anything with anybody. But first, you give me what I want. First, give me an unconditional, raise of the debt limit. Or secondly, give me that. First, give me get the government up and running without any preconditions tied to it. So he wants to set a precedent. This president, it'll be a presidential precedent. He wants to set a precedent. See, I messed myself up. Whereby he would make it that no longer would there be any negotiations over the debt ceiling, notwithstanding the fact that, as we've documented, this has happened before with almost every president. Joining us right now is the former senator from the state of Pennsylvania, former presidential candidate, and I believe future presidential candidate, Rick Santorum. Hello, sir.
Making my announcements for me.
I don't know, because I'm hoping you'll say, Steve, you're right. It just sounds so right that I'm going to announce it right here on your show right now.
All right. Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm and support. I shouldn't say enthusiasm. I don't know about support, but enthusiasm.
Oh well, I always support you. I think you're great. All right, listen. You know what we went through today? We heard the president. He had like an hour-and-a-half press conference, and with about 40 minutes into it, he had said ransom, extortion twice, ransom 4 times, burn the house down, crash the global economy, cause a recession, threatening families. He's not budging, apparently. Boehner isn't budging, apparently. Is this a different situation than we've had? What I'm really getting at here is this a different kind of president?
Well, obviously, it's a very different kind of president, and it's a president who understands that that the media is in the tank with him, that they are going to support him no matter what he says. I mean, here you have a president who's basically saying, "I will not negotiate." Now, I don't know what governmental entity that you can govern and say. Anywhere at any level of government, say I'm going to govern and not negotiate with anybody who disagrees with me. I don't know how anybody agrees that that's a reasonable point of view. Yet, the way that it's being spun out there, the president is the reasonable guy, and the Republicans, who backed far away from the positions that they've taken originally, have gone down to really what I consider to be very de minimis types of
demands.
Changes demands. And the president still is taking this position, and he's doing it because he thinks he can win. Here's what everybody has to understand. This is not about shutting down the government. This is not about people getting their Medicare or their Medicaid or their Social Security checks. This is about one thing, and it's always about one thing with this president. It's about power. The president believes that he can increase his power by taking this tact, and he is willing to hurt innumerable people along the way, including anybody related to the government or in need of any government services, or including our military. The president's willing to do that if in the end he believes that he will diminish Republicans, increase his chances of solidifying more power, and be able to get the radical things that he wants through the Congress. That's the objective here. It's not about anything other than that.
I started the show by saying I'm a little bit afraid, to be honest with you, because we see a president here who not only has told the House and the Senate, and himself has said he would veto it even if the Senate somehow took it up and passed it, helping kids with cancer, helping veterans, opening the national parks. But also let me add to that, we got word today that the military is not paying the $100,000 death benefit for our slain heroes to their families, which is usually done in a few days to help them with their expenses and whatnot, even though that was already passed under the Pay Our Military bill. I was told by Louis Gohmert just before you that was included in there, but they're choosing not to pay it. So I see a president who's willing to do this and go that far. I'm scared as an American citizen a little bit here, I have to admit, Rick, that maybe this president who, let's be honest here, Constitution's a flawed document, we're not a fair society, blah, 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 blah. Maybe he doesn't care if we collapse and we get a good depression, and maybe we deserve it. And maybe the Republicans should cave and try to make this case to the public that they caved because they're afraid of this guy.
Well, here's again, I've said this from the very beginning. I knew him. I served with him 2 years. That his role model as president is Franklin Roosevelt. And people forget that the Depression did not get better under Franklin Roosevelt. We had 25% unemployment into his second term, yet he was reelected and reelected and reelected. Why? Well, again, the president he sees what a lot of folks don't, which is bad times don't necessarily mean bad things for the president who's in power. If the president in power is giving things to people who are in need and is out there looking like he cares and wants to give and wants to have government get bigger so he can help more people. That's the model that he's using, and he understands that bad times, a depression or whatever, is not necessarily going to hurt him or his party. In fact, as we saw, the deeper the Depression got, the more people relied on government, even though government was one of the principal reasons for the Depression. And in fact, we didn't come out of the Depression because of anything that Roosevelt did. We came out because of World War II. So understand that, again, go back to the basics. They are about power, solidifying power, accumulating it in Washington, D.C. for him and for his successor, liberals who are going to be in power.
All right. So do I have a right, looking at my limited 401k and my 14-year-old son and his 501 whatever the heck it is? I mean, do I have a right to be right? Yeah. Right. Do I have a right to be scared?
You have a right to be concerned that a president is not. Look, I agree. This president is not going to back down until or unless it becomes a political negative for him. If somehow this gets turned to the president is one to say, wait a minute, you've got to be willing to negotiate something. Even the left says, you have to. But as long as that doesn't turn, as long as he is gaining ground, and to date he's gaining ground, as long as that is occurring, he's not gonna back away, and he'll inflict whatever pain is necessary.
We're talking to former Senator Rick Santorum here on the Steve Malzberg Show, who is not announcing his candidacy for 2016 today. So give me a grade, or in your own words, how's Boehner doing? And how's McConnell's basically helpless in the Senate, but how's Boehner doing? How are the Republicans doing?
Well, I can't say that they've been great up until the last week or so. I think leading up to it, they've been they were all over the map. They were not united as a party. They were undercutting each other, including undercutting the folks who were out there trying to make the case that Obamacare was the focal point, which would have been a great thing had all Republicans lined up and made Obamacare the focal point. And then as they needed to do, shift, because obviously everyone knew that defunding Obamacare was not going to happen, but making the point about how bad Obamacare should have been the issue, and then you move to something that is a reasonable step in the right direction, which is to do what the president's done, which is delay certain parts of Obamacare. And that's what they made the right shift. They didn't get there the way they should have. They didn't get there united. They got there divided. And as a result of that division, now you see even Republicans, on the left, splitting off and potentially joining Democrats to try to pass, a bill that would undermine everybody. So, I would say that, it was not particularly well orchestrated throughout, but they're in the right place right now, which is a reasonable demand that one of these or several of these things that are being put out there need to be done in order for the president for them to send something to the president. And I would stick by that. I would not back away from this. You can, if you concede this to the president, you are giving him an enormous amount of power in that city.
All right, now let's move quickly on to something that, this is one of the things I support you on 100% is your willingness to speak out on social values and what's in your heart and what matters to you. And you're going to be at the Values Voter Summit on Friday. And there's been from what I've been reading, there's been an attack or an organized effort, I should say, to keep people like you and others away from that summit, claiming it's run by a bunch of, homophobes and this and that and whatever name they could throw at people, criticizing the Family Research Council for the things they've supposedly said and calling them I don't know what the Southern Poverty Law Center calls them, a terrorist group, whatever they call them. But you're going and you're going to talk about getting people involved in politics and entertainment, which I think is important too.
Yeah, this is unfortunately the tactic. If you, it's not a matter of tolerance. These folks don't want you to, to accept who they are, what they believe in. They are going to accuse you of being a hater, a bigot, or everything else if you don't agree with them. And that's that's really the sad part of this, and I strongly support the Family Research Council and the sponsors of the Value Voter Summit. I'm excited to be there. You know, the culture is changing in this country, and it's not changing because of politics. It's changing because of the popular culture and what Hollywood and what New York and others, and the centers of the left, if you will, are spewing to not just our children, but to all of us through these screens that are omnipresent in America today. And my word to them is that not only should we engage in politics as value voters, but we need to be value spenders, and we need to engage in the world of what we believe in every aspect of our lives. The popular culture in our churches, in our families, in our schools, in our businesses. We have to stop just focus on politics as going to be the solution to this. It is a vitally important part of it, but the left doesn't just focus on politics. They are busy 24/7 in all these other areas, and they've basically taken control of the media, the education, both primary, secondary, and obviously colleges and universities, and as well as the media. So we have to start fighting back on all those fronts, and if we don't, then we're going to be fighting a losing battle.
I couldn't agree with you more, Senator. We'll speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Rick Santorum, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, when we come back, a trucker's ride for the Constitution. That's what it was being called, held today. We'll talk to the organizer right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.